Hey guys, Huz here bringing you another video, and this video will be part of a small series of 3, bringing you the terminology of League of Legends. Now, as a veteran player, I know pretty much all the language in League of Legends, but as a new player, I would imagine people would struggle, especially if you're watching LCS. They use all the, the proper terms on there, and you might not know what they're talking about, so hopefully this video will help you. Remember to, sub, like, and all that type of thing, and remember, keep playing League of Legends. Okay, beginning with A, and then we're going to have 5 up at a time at each, time we do different ones. So AA, you see that a lot of the time it's auto attack. AD carry is attack damage carry. AFK is away from keyboard. That's when someone actually leaves their keyboard and is not around. AoE, area of effect attack. That means an attack will be dealing more damage to like multiple targets in a certain area. And AP is ability power. That's the thing that kind of mages build in League of Legends. Okay, the next one's ARAM, all random, all mid. That is the new game mode that's literally just come into League of Legends. Obviously, it was back in the day, it was custom games, but it has its own game mode now. Armor penetration is abbreviated ARPen. This is armor penetration where you get through their armor with Last Whisper, Black Cleaver, and even runes, that type of thing. And then assassin. An assassin champion is a specific champion whose forte is ambushing and slaying enemies. A lot of these champions have a stealth or a really big gap closer. If you think of Zed, he has a shadow gap closer. If you think of a Kali, she has a stealth, that type of thing, and she has a gap closer. So that's a assassin, and that is A. Now moving on to B. Okay, first one's in B. B or back is retreat to the base, go back and buy. A lot of allied champions tell their friends or allied, team to go back and buy, and they'll just literally say B. Babysit, and that's basically camping, but we will go over that later on. Babysit is for one champion to continually assist another champion in order to assist them to get more powerful. So that's camping a lane, say a jungler always being top, trying to get that top laner fed, and making the enemy on that top lane weaker. Bait is to feign weakness in order to lure out the enemies into a trap. So that is walking, like luring them to a bush, taking free damage in order to lure them to the place where you want them to be. BC is Black Cleaver. It's an item where you get ARPen and health, and a lot of people abbreviate it to BC. BD is the abbreviation for back door. That is literally going behind the enemy's backs, out of the way, just slipping into their base to try and get a tower, trying to get inhib, that type of thing. You even can backdoor their nexus if you know XPeke. BF or BF, BF swords, that is the item where you get 45 AD, and it's always abbreviated to BF. Like, got my BF sword, and AD carry will normally say. So that is the first one's in B, next one's coming up now. Okay, next one's BG, bad game. It's abbreviated to this, but honestly, I don't like saying bad game because, hey, it's manners. But a lot of people do say BG, and you might not know what it means, and it does mean bad game. BORK or Bork means Blade of the Ruined King. It's literally the fairly new item that comes out for AD carries and assassins, that type of thing. Even top laners that are quite tanky even get this item. Be Right Back or BRB is used, and this is a general internet language that is used in World of Warcraft, Star Wars Online, all the different games, and it's just a common known thing. Burst is a lot of damage dealt in a short time. It's also known as nuke. Now, I would say burst is used more than nuke nowadays, but back in the day, probably nuke was, used more. But yeah, it's basically just bursting someone down. It's literally just smashing them to the ground, dealing a lot of damage so they can't do anything else or they die. It's that simple. Okay, first one's in C, care. Now, some people know, like, why are you saying care to me? It's to be careful, probably implying there's going to be a gank in your lane. If they're saying care bot lane, it means the jungler is probably going to come in bot lane. Carry. Now, some people may not. What's a carry? A champion that generally starts off quite weak, but then carries the game. It, like, literally does the amount of damage that's needed to kill everything on the enemy team. It's their AD carry, it's the AP carry. They're the champions that will carry your team to the late game if they do their job really well. CDR, cooldown reduction. That's fairly simple to explain. That's literally taking a percentage of how, less you can get your cooldowns off cooldown. Now, CD is also cooldown. That's the amount of time it takes for a spell to get back up. CC is crowd control. Now, CC is used in different games like World of Warcraft, that type of thing, and it's basically to keep someone in place or stun them, silence them, that type of thing. You can get different variances of CC, and that's just the general, bracket of just CC. And finally in C, collapsing. Collapsing is when allied players coordinate to each other to surround a particular group of opponents. It can be a group of opponents, it can be one opponent. It's just collapsing on one specific target or one specific goal. Okay, D. DFG, Deathfire Grasp, is the item that deals health percentage damage as well as gives you AP. A lot of damage, like bursty champions like ARAM, that type of thing, will build DFG. DC is disconnect, is someone when literally their internet connection goes from the game and they, not on the game anymore, they disconnect from the game. Dive is to pursue a specific target into a highly dangerous area, and this is normally under a turret. DOT, this is a common phrase used in different MMOs, but it's damage over time effect. It's like Rumble's ult that will literally, the more you stand on it, the more damage you'll take over time. Also like Swain's dot, Malzahar's dot, all them little, little debuffs that give you damage over time is what a dot is. DPS is damage per second, again a normal phrase in normal MMOs. It basically means that the champions that do high damage will be described as a DPS, or it will literally be the amount of damage you can do in a certain amount of time. It would be the burst damages and all that type of thing. Okay, there's only two for E. ELO or ELO, a mathematical rating system for players' relative skill level. Obviously, this is not your skill level, it's a number that's just put on it. It's basically what it is. StarCraft uses it, their ranking system, just literally if you're a diamond, you're good, if you're in bronze, you're not. League of Legends has the number, and now it also has the StarCraft system. And then ELO Hell, this is my own description, so if you want to critique it, I really don't mind, as I don't believe in ELO Hell. It's people's excuse for when they cannot break out the current ELO they're currently in. That's ELO Hell for me, and that is E. Moving on to F. Okay, first one's an F, face check. It's a champion that goes into a brush to see if there's an enemy in there, but a lot of the time it can be really risky, as there could be enemies in there already and then get them a lot of damage on them or even kill them. Face checking is not a great idea most of the time. Farm is to seek out kills on minions and to gain experience and gold. FB is first blood, it's obviously the first kill in the game. Feed and fed, there is a difference. Fed is a champion becoming disproportionately powerful after obtaining multiple kills on an enemy champion. That is the person that is getting the kills. Now, feed or to feed is to repeatedly die to the enemy team, giving them golden experience. Obviously, feeding is not, if you're 0-2, you're not really feeding. When you get like 0-3 or 1-5, that type of thing, that's kind of when it goes into the feeding mark. Obviously, supports you are slightly different, but still, a support really shouldn't die. If a support goes to you, I'm a support, I can die. No, support should never really die. Don't really feed as a support. Okay, next one's freezing. Freezing's quite advanced. I wouldn't expect a lower ELO person to do it. If you do, great. Freezing is basically when you stop your minion wave or the enemy wave nearest your tower, so then your opponents in lane cannot really get close, and you're literally just killing a minion when it's about to die. You get all the gold from it, and you're really denying your enemy because it's right in your tower. They're gonna have to overextend if they want to get farm. And then FOTM is flavor of the month. You can say, what's the flavor of the month mid? What's the flavor of the month jungle? And right now, the flavor of the month is basically anything that's on an LCS. Obviously, we do have the break right now, but that's basically how I'd explain what are the FOTMs right now. Okay, GA, Guardian's Angel is the item that gives resistances, both magic resist and armor, but also revives you once you die, but has a 5-minute cooldown. Game throw is used quite often in LCS, that type of thing. It's when a team makes a mistake or a series of mistakes that make them lose the game. That could be failing a Baron smite, the enemy gets the Baron and aces you. That could be just generally getting aced as 4 versus 5 near Dragon. That is a game throw and it happens quite often. A gank is to ambush one or more unsuspecting enemies with one or more champions. So that is, a mid and a jungler roaming bot lane. They don't have any wards in the bush, so they're going to get ganked and probably some kills. A gap closer is an ability or a spell that shortens the distance between the champions and enemy. Now this could count as flash, but that also could count as Akali's ultimate or Aurelia's Q. There's just some examples. Okay, the first two are just out of courtesy. Good job and good luck. A lot of people just simply know what they are, but there's the abbreviations for them. GP10 is the items, masteries, runes that generate gold over time. Simply giving you gold without hitting a minion, without getting a kill. They just give you a passive that gives you more gold. Every champion in the game can get an item for this, but generally they are a support item. Although you do see the occasional jungler, mid, top, or even AD build a GP10 item. Okay, H, the final one for this little video. Harass is to put pressure on an enemy champion and by causing damage to them with little risk of a retaliation. So it's getting like Caitlyn, just keep attacking them as you're harassing their health down. If you're Zed in mid lane, it's throwing your Qs out constantly without going in. Hard CC. Now this is one of the types of CC. A crowd control effect, which we went over earlier, that disrupts the channeling of abilities. Now some CCs literally just keep someone in place. This actually stops a champion casting any spells. And a hard leash is to aid the allied jungler by attacking a monster and reducing its HP. This is often the case at wolves at level 1, or at level 1 at blue or red as well. You help the jungler to save that smite a lot of the time, or even just get the monster down a little bit more so the jungler can go about the jungle with a bit more health. Okay, the final ones in this video, HF, have fun. Now that is something that I really want to say, just generally, have fun playing League of Legends, it's a game after all. Then Hybrid is a champion that uses 2 more build times, such as going both AP and AD. Now these can be champions like Jax, that can be a Kali, that type of thing. Katarina can get a bit of AD. It's a champion that benefits from both. It means their spells have a ratio for both. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and for any, pointers you might have for the next couple of videos, feel free to put it in the comments. Obviously, I'm just throwing this together, as I do know the language can be overwhelming, and I know a lot of people would like to watch LCS, but don't know what's going on. If a, caster says something, it's a pain if you don't know what it is. Now, please, rate, sub, like, and all that type of thing, blah, blah, and remember, keep playing League of Legends.